if something comes too easy to a driven person, we have no value for it. I mean, it's like, I mean, it's literally just washed over. If something's challenging or hard for us, I'd see everybody's eyes go, oh yeah, because that is this deeper drive for true reward. The farmer's guy named Blum coined this whole thing, and he called us reward deficient. We have reward deficiency syndrome. So no matter what we do, it never feels like it was good enough. The harder it is, and the more we struggle, and the more we fight, and the more we maybe we'll get rewarded this time.
Do you have something that only 1 in 10 people have? It's a genetic gift that has been given to just about 10% of the world's population. It's a powerful, unstoppable drive. Star athletes, inventors, Navy SEALs, adventurers, and entrepreneurs all have it in their DNA. Research has shown that certain genes are found in resilient and highly focused people who can be impulsive and easily distracted. While these traits enable our ancient ancestors to survive, if you have these traits today, it can wreak havoc in your life, especially if you have ADHD or OCD. Uninformed people think those things are a disorder, yet they're actually your gift. That's what Dr. Doug Brackman has spent his entire career working on. His clients are top performers, and he helps them overcome their limiting beliefs, stop the cycle of shame, and achieve the ultimate personal and professional success that awaits them. Doug has put his 25 years of research and experience into a book that is just amazing. Its title is simply one word, Driven, which is this book right here. It's a red book. It will help you harness your genetic gifts and achieve your full potential. So, this is Dr. Doug Brackman. So great to have you here. And so I've got some questions for you, but I'd like to, let me grab a pen. May I have a pen, Eunice? Thank you. Pen. Thank you.
How many people have read it? Yeah. Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
That's cool. How many people liked it?
You want to explain the elephant?
Monkey? Or
Elephant, monkey? Yeah.
Oh yeah, we can go there.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Yeah, explain that one.
So, how many know the theory of driven? Just the basic premise of what I talk about. So, let me frame it, and then why I would teach you about the monkey and the elephant. So, I dropped out of high school at 16, wound up in a lock psych ward by 17, I just turned 18. Cocaine and amphetamine psychosis is no joke. I mean, it's like I was 138 pounds, I'm now resting at about 185, 90. I was dying.
Like how old were you at that time?
I was 18 years old, just turned 18 years old. So went into a locked psych ward, nutcase, like nutty people, like real crazy people. I had to light the cigarettes on the wall, padded room, the whole deal. And within 3 days, as I got enough water in me, got some food in me, got a couple nights sleep in me, I pretty quickly realized that I was not crazy like them. Like there was something different about me, but I was not crazy. And the monkey elephant piece, the curiosity around who was really in control of me. That question, but this was 1986, so it was a long time ago.
So interesting, because that's the year I was like, some of my worst drug addiction was 1986.
The cocaine was way better back then.
Yeah,
not that I would know. I have not touched it since. I do not. I've been offered cocoa leaves, and it's like, hell no. Because something else will take control of me. And I will ride that thing to death. So it's no joke. I'm fortunate. Monkey and elephant. So I obviously went back to school, got my shit together, wound up with 2 PhDs, PhD in organizational psychology, a PhD in clinical psychology, simply because my father said to me, won't it be difficult to make a living as a clinical psychologist? That's 4 extra years of school for that one statement. Question. I could have called the book The Shame-Based Personality Type, but I don't think I would have sold it. So what was driving Doug to almost kill himself and Joe to almost kill himself? And what is this addiction thing? What is, And that led this 35 years, now 37 years of work into really understanding human beings, but a very small niche of us. We're actually about 1 in 12. It's interesting if you spiritual at all, there's a lot to the number 12, and there's a very particular just apostle that's very much like us, Peter. And so it is a very interesting thing that we are not normal. We are neurodiverse, and because of my imposter syndrome, I do a ton of research to back that up. Thank God there's a lot of money in ADHD, so there's a lot of research in it, particularly for the pills that fix us. But we are different. We are wired different. We are made different. A lot of theory as to why we exist and why we have persisted to exist. Guy who I stole a lot of this original stuff from was a guy named Tom Hartman. His kid, ADD, severe ADD, impulse disorder, all kinds of labels on it. But he came up with the bacteria genome theory that out of all, you look at bacteria, there's always a little bit that's always ready for a rapid change in environment. And so there's this little select, and you figure the environment's going to stay pretty consistent, but if it gets really hot, there's some bacteria that'll live, and if it gets really cold, some bacteria will live, but the rest will die off. That's us. We are the ones in the human genome waiting for the next ice age. We're waiting for the next shit to hit the fan. And so we're the ones who, and think about, I mean, we're the preppers, we're kind of nutty, but we, as a entrepreneurial group, the ice age doesn't scare us. It's like, bring it, we'll figure it out. Where the rest of the human herd, they're toast. And so if you're in this room and you relate to being driven, you're really important to this planet. And since writing Driven, I've done a lot more research about it. My next book is going to be much more. That was about drivens. This one's written to drivens and the rest of the world and how we need to make a change and prepare for what's coming, because it's coming. You guys can feel it. So the monkey elephant, long story short, how we work. And this was, I entered grad school in 1991. There was no, I went into grad school with the Pentium processors had just come out. There was a 486 computer. So, I mean, it was a different world. We didn't have cell phones. I had a pager. I mean, different world. And so, who's really in charge of us? Is it this brain up on top of or this body down below? And that huge argument back then, last 7 years, functional MRI has solved that question. Who's really in charge of you? And the answer is depends. But for the most part, it's this, not this. This is an organizing feature that it's more of a regulator for what's going on down here, but this is really in charge. So my doctoral dissertation looked at self-fulfilling prophecy and self-sabotage in particular group of people and a shame-based population. So very simply, 2,600 years ago, the Buddha, another psychologist, he was not a messiah or a prophet he was just a shrink, is really what he was, and just trying to figure things out. He noticed that we are very much like an Indian elephant with a bunch of monkeys up on top trying to control it. And this is, the question that I posed in my dissertation. One of them, this is why January sucks at the gym. Why? Because everybody's monkey mind has temporary control over the elephant. And then what happens? I just did this slide for a presentation. By February 14th, 78% of people don't even remember their New Year's resolutions. So what the hell happens? So who's really in charge of you? And if you're an addict, you can very quickly see that this thing will make decisions for you that this thing can go along with, or God forbid, try to fight. And the word dukkha, suffering, is literally a battle between this thing and this thing. And so it is classic question that I ask, and I love watch the expressions on their faces. So, who are you? Are you the monkeys or are you the elephant? Somebody already read my book. So the answer is obviously both. And, capital A and D, underlined, neither. And that neither piece is the one that, we've been arguing about for 60,000 years, so we can tell. Mind, body, soul, or mind, body, consciousness, whatever. And I always say that. If somebody ever tells you they've got this figured out, run. It's a cult. Seriously, it is. No one's got their hands on really who is the one watching the monkeys throw shit at each other or cheerlead you on, and who is this impulsive thing that you have a resistance and impulse towards or impulse away from. And so it's that third element that is really what I do. And that's the real you. And, you're also, at the same time, this. You can't escape this. You are also a primate. You are a Homo sapien. You are a monkey. We're a bunch of animals running around on this planet, but because we have this thing, which, as we find out now, dolphins, whales, lots of chimpanzees, we're not the only ones with this thing. And so we're not that special, but we are special. So that's monkeys and elephant. That's a lot. But
yeah, that's good. Well, so let's go. Let me ask you about some of the questions I have, and then we'll do.
Please.
I think it'll lead into. My goal is to have the people here understand how they can better harness, function, perform, live, and how to take this incredible gift, and utilize it in the best of ways. So, what are the characteristics and genetics that make up hunters, and how does it compare with the traits of farmers?
Good question. So, all the ADD, ADHD literature, they've done tens of thousands of functional MRIs on people that are normal, about 95%, 92%, depending on where you get the sample, from those that are neurodivergent or have the ADD brain. And so you do these meta-analysis where they look at all of these studies and put them all together, and you see what is the patterns of them. One of the most consistent things you see is that the normal brain has a lot of activity right here. It's the left prefrontal lobe. And that's the executive function of the brain. And it literally tells the animal what to do next. They do this, and then you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this. And that staying on task, assembly line workers or whatever, they're wired for it. You put us in a functional MRI, the back of our heads light up. We have occipital dominance, and so we use our eyeballs to go through the world. And if you think about hunters versus farmers, literally, you put your finger in the ground, put corn in it, you pat it, you water it, you patiently wait for it to grow, you collect it, you save a bunch for next year. You have this sequential series of steps to keep you alive, to make you safe in the world. And where if we were trying to grow crops, we very quickly get bored, very quickly, like, this is not for me. It's my joke about being unemployed. I'm truly, if you're an entrepreneur like I am, you are unemployable. I work well parallel with partners, but I cannot have somebody telling me how they think I should sequentially do something. Why? Because my brain goes, I can come up with a better way to do it.
Yeah, that's no shit, right?
Yeah, no shit. And that's the piece for me. And it's so. I brought tissues up here because the last 7 months of my life have been absolute hell for a lot of it. I had an in-home fire November 19th, and I have a big gun guy. I have huge amounts of smokeless powder, and I'm literally putting out a fire before it lights the smokeless powder. Good times, but wasn't. So it is so good to be in a group of people that are like me. I cannot tell you what it's like to be home. You know, because me sitting in, there's my tears, me sitting in second grade, realize, like, why don't these people see how stupid this is? Why don't they get that this is a goddamn waste of time? Like, we're memorizing spelling words and regurgitating them. Like, how is this going to help me? Everyone else in class looks at little Dougie like, you know, what's wrong with you? That throws into the other, you know, thing that damn near killed me, and I could have called it the shame-based personality type, because the two genetics, the most associated with how we're different. And when you go into genetics, people love to think, well, that's why I am this way. Is it nature versus nurture? In the last 10 years, that has been really clear. The answer is yes. You cannot separate genetics from environment and environment from genetics. And so if you have a propensity for these genes, and it's dopamine. Everybody hears dopamine and ADD. So what dopamine is it's the anticipatory reward molecule. So it's not, oh, something happened and I feel good about it. It's the likelihood that this is going to lead to a reward. And when you're feeling a drop in dopamine receptor number 2, that's called boredom. And so this boredom, this feeling that there's something, I'm not feeling it right now. And it starts to build into this sucks. And it is a sensation in the elephant that the monkey mind interprets like something missing or wrong. And that's in the immediate environment. So if you have a lot of that, that's where the ADHD comes in, the hyperactivity and the impulsivity. You know, rather than actually learning how to, or being able to sit still, you feel that. The second one, which is more interesting to me because it's what I primarily am, is the dopamine receptor number 4. And what that is the FOMO gene. It's what I call it. It's a fear of missing out gene. And it really separates the hunters from the farmers. And it is the thing that tells you feel it in your elephant, and you have this monkey mind interpret it, ooh, there's more woolly mammoths over the next hill. Shiny object syndrome. There's something better over there. And if farmers felt that, they would wander away, run away from their crops. If we didn't feel that, we would kill all the game right here and we'd starve. So it serves a really important function, and for entrepreneurs, sabotage, you bite the shit out of you really quickly. Because, but what the next book is about, and what I dove into a little bit in here, in the monkey elephant third thing, all tied together. Because if you have this nice left prefrontal, and you know where this human being adapted to the environment is, we went from little hunter-gatherer entrepreneurial groups figuring out how to survive to these massive societies. And along with that, a simplification of identity happened. And what are you? Oh, I'm a butcher, I'm a baker, I'm a candlestick maker. And how do you know? Well, I go into the, cobble split it, I make shoes. You ask it, if you want to send an entrepreneur to hell, ask them who they are. Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean who? I'm this, and I wear all the hats, and I do. But what is the most consistent thing in our worlds is this feeling of not being enough. And so we can very easily, depending upon your childhood, he had a great childhood, so it didn't happen to him. Not his fault. First thing I said to him is, yeah, you had a great mother. And he goes, yeah, I did.
Yeah, of course, look at him.
Exactly.
Functional, positive, all that fucking bullshit.
Exactly. Not to throw moms and dads under the bus, but if your parents remember, genetics, so your parents were probably one or both driven too. And so this shame-based family system, alcoholic family system, all the John Bradshaw stuff, comes from this addictive tendency to make an emotion who you are or what you are. I feel like I'm not enough. And so that's the core of the imposter syndrome. You know, my doctoral Jim Spira, congratulations, Dr. Brackman, first time I ever got called doctor. My inner experience was, my monkey mind, clear as a bell, said, ha, he bought it. My multi-thinking frontal lobe could think about every little corner I cut, all the crap all the way through. And I didn't feel good enough. And that is really the work that I do with all of my entrepreneurs. Good enough, by the way, is not a feeling. It's not. Why? How do I know? Because it's on my wall. It was good enough. Did he know I cut corners and all that? Of course. He encouraged me to cut more. But because of my stuff, I didn't. And so, you know, the curse of being an entrepreneur, besides almost killing you with addictions, is this shame. And that is what drives us to workaholism when we miss what matters. I did hospice, I gotta say this. It came to one of my Zen teachers in I did Zen hospice, amazing experience, but Frank Ortansky was the guy's name. He held 3,500 people's hands while they died. Over 40 years of practice. And he was he started Zen hospice 1972. Somebody donated a house to him and said, what the hell, lots of people die here. In 2002, when he retired, he had over 1,000 donated beds that he was operating full time. He quit that and then started consulting in high-end hospice, $2,000, $3,000 a bed hospice. And he said that you only give a shit about two things on your deathbed, whether you're a homeless person or the wealthiest man in the world. Was I loved, and did I love? And so that what matters in life, I mean, you made me cry. What matters in life is love. And I mentioned this here before, and we in this room, and I'll include everybody, we're not herding animals. And we are pack animals. And we have intense, sometimes misaligned loyalties. Like we can go to the ends of the earth for other people in the hopes that they go to the ends of the earth for us. 95% don't even know what you're talking about because they're wired different. They're wired like a herd. And so when a cheetah runs into a herd of gazelles, what do? And you saw that with COVID, you see that. I mean, it's wild when you think about what happens in bigger society. Mm-hmm. We, on the other hand, are pack animals, wolf pack. That's why I joined this group, and that's why it's so good to be in a room like this, because what happens when a bear attacks a wolf? What do the other wolves do? They come to your house. And so that is the core, and I think we as entrepreneurs are so incredibly important to this world, because most of them they're not like us. I'm not, and I think we're really important to become leaders of this thing and really help. My next book is Sheep, Wolves, and Shepherds. And so I think, to see the smiles, because we, and anyone pronouncing themselves to be a shepherd is a wolf, Mr. Fauci. You asshole.
Yeah. Can I ask you about this then? Because, so a hunter without boundaries is reckless, dangerous, a killer, a tyrant.
A wolf.
And a hunter that, I don't know if you call it boundaries or how you would phrase it with what you've understood, is one of the most productive, caring, make shit happen humans on the planet. Loyal, committed, capable. So there's a lot of things that can make us go sideways, right? Like when I was in, you mentioned, imposter syndrome, which I wanted to, ask you about. And I wanted to ask you about con men. So at the last Genius Network meeting, I had Chris Voss, Robert Cialdini, and BJ Fogg right here, and I was interviewing all three of them, and I asked them about marketers that become con artists and about using marketing in an ethical way, because I have a love-hate relationship with some of the people that are in the business because they're very capable, but their characters are, they'll sell their mother for money. I mean, they literally will lie, cheat, steal, and they can deliver messages so authentically that people online think, oh my God, they're so real, they're so authentic, and it's like, fuck, if you only knew these people, they're the biggest. So when does it become like the con artists? When, like, how does one keep them, how do they check themselves before they wreck themselves?
I've worked with a bunch, my client base is all 95%. I used to work with a bunch of pro athletes, but it's all entrepreneurs now. Couple kind of classic clients that come into me, 24, 25, quarter life crisis, couple of kids that have come to mind, selling dick pills on the internet. I mean, just burning and turning. The whole credit card scam, you got to cancel your credit card to get rid of them. Why would they do that? And you ask them, it's like, because we can. And rules, and how many people have a problem with authority in here?
Depends on the authority, yeah.
You just said it. Depends on the authority. Depends on their qualifications. Depends on their experiences. Depends on how authentic they are with me. And we are the bullshitters. And we are, you can't bullshit a bullshitter. But man, you can bullshit some sheep real easy. Mm-hmm. And selfishness and all of these qualities of the monkey mind, and it feels good in the dopaminergic system to get a win. And I've seen people take that down a path of like, how did I get here? And it's because and this is, the other neuropeptide Y. Neuropeptide Y is a not well researched. They've tried to, it's hard to research, but it's the #1 predictor for people to make it through BUDS training in Navy SEALs. The #1 predictor. And what is it? So if you're chasing a rabbit and you're getting all pumped about it and the rabbit gets away. Oh shit. Oh, another rabbit. It's a resetting of both the brain and the reward system to forget about the failure almost immediately and jump to the next thing. It is a gift in entrepreneurship and a curse if you're an addict. It is, in Alcoholics Anonymous, the strange mental blank spot where you can't remember a day, a week, a month ago of the terrible things.
Yeah.
That's neuropeptide Y. And it is a gift because it allows you to forget, yesterday wasn't that bad. Bullshit, it sucked yesterday, no easy day, all the Navy SEAL stuff is because you're harnessing that, but you got to learn from your mistakes. And so that combined with this dopaminergic thing, I've seen some real monsters, Fauci, how do you understand that? Well, he's a money play. Just follow the money. It's simple.
Yep.
And, did they really believe they were doing what was best for most? I don't know. I don't know what it's like to be them, but I would sure hope so. But I doubt it. And so but in your own life, this self-reflection, that's what I always joke about. With Drivens, we are chosen to be fucked enough that we have to develop an inner world. We have to look at ourselves. And that led me into trauma healing and led me into a whole bunch of different stuff. But once you harness this as a driven person, it is the best. I love being driven most days. People around me, usually not.
Yeah.
Usually not, and I'm going through, because of the fire and because of my impulsivity and getting divorced again. and it's, you know, with kids, and it's this shit show. But do I see the bigger picture, and can I get hope? Yeah, of course. So it's, you know, I can move on much more easily. I'm incredibly resilient being a driven person, but you don't want to miss the opportunity to learn. So it's a trip, but it's easy for drivens. I mean, it felt good and seemed right, and it worked. It got me dopamine. Yeah, but did it hurt people? Not really, and then we can justify, rationalize, and all that. And so it's yeah, I've witnessed it.
Yeah, you know, let me ask you about pain and shame. The driven person, like Superman, Superwoman, they have their kryptonite and they have their ways that they can harness it. And I think until I started to be able to find a bit of acceptance in myself, I kept self-destructing with addiction. And I think being with a lot of addicts over the years, literally thousands, for the time I've been in recovery, and seeing a lot of workaholics, like my friend Ken Wells. So we have a guy, Ken Wells, many of you remember him from the February annual event. I interviewed him last year, and he's in his 70s. And Ken, I met him in a high-profile group. He was one of the therapists leading it, and when I first showed up there, you know, I was in my 30s, and some billionaires, Academy Award winning actors and actresses, NBA players, NFL players, you know, very famous people that could not go to 12-step meetings. Most of them were sex addicts as one of their main addictions, and alcoholics, and every addiction under the sun. And people that the world admired, and it gave me a whole perspective of, wow, you know, I mean, there's one, I'm friends with most of them still to this day, that people are in there, I literally grew up admiring them, listening to their music, like this craziest thing, and then hearing all of this stuff, and then it was a big wake-up call to where no matter how high someone rises, that doesn't somehow rise above the being human, and the flaws and the pain and the angst. And as a matter of fact, some of the pain in these people was deeper than I'd seen in anyone else, because they rose high, but so did all this other stuff, right? And just immense shame, and how a lot of the success was an alibi. It was their alibi, it was their rationalization, it was, you know, the admiration. If they could get it from enough other people, they could live a double life and somehow be separated from it. And so the dealing with the, I mean, I probably needed the applause and the admiration and the success and the testimonials from people doing well with my marketing results, when what I predominantly taught was marketing, because it was one of the few things that made me feel good, while the rest of my life I just felt like a piece of shit. And the, you know, addiction thrives on shame. It needs darkness. It's like a mold, a fungus. It doesn't do well when there's light on it and sunshine. So it just, you know, that thing. And I think the drivens that are in the room will totally relate to what you're talking about and what you're saying. And I think the farmers, you know, the hunters feel this. The farmers oftentimes will be like, what the hell are they talking about, maybe?
Yeah.
But what have you found to, because I think that line, you're sick as your secrets, and silent battles are the hardest battles to fight. If you're deeply in shame, you don't ask for help, you isolate. Yeah. And even when you are crying for help and saying it, you're not saying it in a way that's allowing the help to come in, because it's a cycle that keeps you there. How the hell does one break out of that? Because I think the biggest breakthroughs that a lot of us have in this room here are when we get out of that shame cycle.
And so, yeah, great. That has been the last 30 years of my life, is he said it, I felt like a piece of shit. That's that core identity piece that has to be. And so what I do, what I really do, and I'm productizing my what I sell identity. And this, who am I thing is, I do it in Driven. I'm doing it very clearly in my next book. That is a crazy question of who. It's what am I? What I am is a monkey, full stop. I'm not a feeling, I'm not a fill in the blank. And if you can get that intellectually, that's the first part of it. Yeah, but then what do I do with all of this hurt and angst and terror and pain underneath? And it allows you to actually distance yourself from that sensory system in the body and basically let it heal itself. It's 100 million years of organic healing intelligence, 55 years of me fucking it up. And so that ability to get out of the way of the body is where psilocybin, I'm way up on the research on it. It's a really interesting, it co-evolved with the human brain, meaning that it's zero neurotoxic, meaning that our brain's been exposed to it for a long time. Stoned ape theory, I don't know, but maybe. It really is, it turns down the default neural network associated with the typical way we experience sensation in the body. So the way we work, this is a long answer to what to do with the pain and the shame in you. First and foremost, it is you're a monkey. You're not your feelings. You're not your thoughts. Well, who am I then? Keep chasing that. The quest for who is suffering. This what am I is the first. Then that ability to actually understand what the hell's happening in your body. And we as old white men, we are way out of our bodies. I mean, as a group, we're just wired to not be in our bodies. And what does it even mean to be in your body? It's that ability to actually have sensation in your body and just feel like you're here. And how does authenticity feel? It doesn't. It just is. You're just here, you're in your body. And what's happening around you is reflecting your central nervous system. You're just here, you're connected. Most of us are not present. Where are we? We're up in our heads, and this thing, the monkey mind, is controlling your central nervous system. And so that's kind of this next step, is this awareness of, holy crap, I think I'm here. If you think you're here, you're not here. That's a thought. How do you know you're here? Take a breath in, feel your feet. Are your feet here? And if your feet are here, you're not thinking. It's really, and that's step 2. But step 3 is this understanding, why do we have emotion and what's happening in the body? And so if you touch a hot stove, every single cell in this nerve pathway from the tip of your fingers to the spine remembers that experience. Then the spine sends an impulse to contract muscles. And all of those muscles remember that experience. So trauma, and I'm not a hippie, I don't know if you guys can tell, but trauma is stuck in the body on a genetic DNA level. It's muscle memory, nerve memory. Past lives are real. They're in your DNA. You can traumatize a mouse and see it for 5 generations. I mean, it's here. And so why am I feeling what I'm feeling? God only knows. But you touch that hot stove, this software system then in your head records the pattern, square metal box, 4 burners, and if that pattern is matched, a little bit of that trauma is released in the body. And that's the elephant. The unconscious is not a mystery, it's right here, it's right below your nose. And most people, this thing is operating so far back from their awareness, they don't even know it's operating. All they do is just up here thinking. And so that first real identity, become curious about what's happening here, then you can renegotiate these emotions. And what do you renegotiate? What does that mean? Meet them with curiosity, meet them with newness. And 3 basic emotions we only have. 3 basic emotions. Everyone think of the cutest Labrador puppy you've ever seen. Oh, you feel that in your warmth in your heart. Imagine it getting hit by a car. So you have heart. Think of the greatest steak in the world. Oh, favorite food. Oh, you go to take a bite, there's maggots in it. Ugh. Disgust. So these continuums, and then you have fight and flight, you have fear. That's it. A little bit of disgust, a little bit of heart hurt, and some anger. Oh, that's jealousy. I mean, you come up with all kinds of names for it, but the simplicity of understanding this stuff, the biggest takeaway from renegotiating shame for me and what I teach is that pain. Why do we have pain? What is the signal of pain? Pain is a signal telling you something is being separated. If your skin is being separated, that hurts. It's separating you from life. You need to go to the doctor. I pull in the driveway, fire trucks are there, the yellow tape. I'm sorry, Doug, your kids didn't get out. What's going to happen is, probably puking on the driveway in pain. Why? Because I love them. Pain is love. Love for life, love for your friends, love for... And this, as a species, we are wired to get away from pain. Get away from love. And so, yeah, that look on your face like, oh shit. And that's a problem as a species. Like a real problem. And I don't know how many Bible thumpers there are in here, but perfect love. So what is in the present moment? Favorite name for God is presence. Only one thing, it's love. A lot of pain at times, but that's because I'm separated from somebody I love. A lot of joy sometimes because I'm one or connected with those I love or life. Why do I know there's no anything else other than that in the present? Because there is no emotion in the present. Can't be any emotion in the present. So when do you feel scared? Only when you're safe, which is a truth. And teach this to a bunch of Navy SEALs, because when you're getting shot at or getting chased by a bear, what are you feeling? Nothing. You're running, hiding. When do you get scared? When you go up the tree. Oh, God. And so fear only exists as a future possibility of something separating me or hurting me. And so once you get this basic philosophy, then you can separate pain. Why did it hurt so much? So here's my second grade story. I can't spell. I really can't. 2 PhDs, still can't spell. Thank God for spell check. What happens when a little red squiggly line, even in emails that I'm typing today, I get a ping in the body and this feeling like I'm not loved. Why? Mrs. Spencer, my second grade teacher, God bless her, little bastard above me and below me on this Friday spelling charts. You get a star if you get 100%. Who's the one with no stars? Little bastard above me, below me had a perfect stars all the way across. Mrs. Spencer, God bless her, looking through papers, says, oh, that's Doug. What did the whole class do? Turned and looked at me. What happened in here is this, What did I do is I picked the little silver-handled blue scissors, safety scissors, and threw them at her. True story. True story. big deal for a little 8-year-old to throw scissors at a teacher. Really big deal. Little did I know she was filing through papers, because it's going to make me cry. I got 100% that day. But that's shame. Here's this pain, and I'm going to get kicked out of the herd and separated. How did I renegotiate that? Besides getting 2 PhDs to prove the bitch wrong, what else?
Oh my God.
Right? This feeling, these tears that are here, is because I know I'm part of a herd. So feeling like you're going to get kicked out tells me how important the herd actually is. And so this alchemy, big fan of Carl Jung. Carl Jung, way years before his time, he called himself an alchemist.
If you need.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
What is alchemy? Alchemy is this ancient tradition of trying to turn lead into gold. And the Western medicine model is, let's get rid of the gold, or let's get rid of the lead. Let's get rid of the symptoms to make room for the new gold. Alchemy is actually the lead is the gold. So this hurt feeling of little Dougie lets me be more present and connected to you all, because you guys get it. And so where's shame in that? You can't have this fear of disconnect without the desire to connect. So you can't, if any non-dualists in the room, is it 2 or 1? The answer is yes. So you need that feeling of separation to have that feeling of connection.
Can I ask you, because what I learned from you is that people that are hunters, the drivens, when they're betrayed, they take it way more personally than people that are not. And therefore we need to be in a pack. We need to have that support. And what's kind of counter to this is oftentimes the hunters are the ones that act like they're so independent and they're so on top of things, but then when someone leaves them, the amount of grief and the amount of angst that separation creates. So what is that, and how do we? You're
describing my 14-year-old chasing girlfriends, you mean? Being crazy about it?
Yeah.
It's a combination of that need to be part of a herd as drivens, but also the shame creates this desperate need to be loved. Unless you had a really good mother and really good father, and we're fortunate in that, we all have little ticks. And those things of, the greatest fear of all human beings, all of us, including farmers, is abandonment. And what is abandonment? Fear of the pain of separation combined. And if we didn't have it as a species, we would not function as a society. So it's not bad. If I hurt you, I should feel bad. It's called guilt. Shame is making the identity out of it. Mm-hmm. But when we're betrayed, like, oh my God, I would never do that to me. Why are you doing that to me? And so we use, as a species too, everybody on the planet, we assume everyone's kind of like us and we work the same way. And I work with a ton of entrepreneurs, 45-year-olds that don't trust anybody, ever. Even the other people on their team, they're employees, they're really not. And part of the core of my next book is really this ability to, as a driven entrepreneur, once you develop heart and really get this functioning online, it's a physical statement, it's not some mental thing, where you can really emote with your people around you, we can become unbelievable leaders. But management is not leadership. Management is literally changing the external circumstance to manage behavior. Leadership is learning to stand in someone else's shoes and then lead them to another place. And as drivens, we are wildly capable of that, to the point where we can manipulate like crazy. But if it's genuine and you really are, you will have, and I've worked with these groups, where it's blind loyalty to their leader. almost to the point where he needs reality checks because he'll lead them all off a cliff if he's not careful. So.
Yeah, you know, I look at a lot of the movements that have gone off the rails and a lot of people that seem to have gone off the rails, and I've had this discussion with Dan Sullivan over the last probably 3 months, is that things start out as a movement, then some of them become a business, then some of them become a racket. And I think we're witnessing a lot of that right now with leaders and companies, and you know, I can see the whole pandemic through the lens of this, you know, all these grifts and all of these, you know, people that have lost their soul if they ever had them in the first place.
Power.
Yeah, and
how many people have ever been like infected by power? Felt how juicy it is. It's wild. And you know, I'm not a big, you know, evil spirit guy, but there, you know, spirit, culture is spirit. You go to a different country, you feel the different, but the spirit of power is one of the most seductive, and it takes down more people than anything else. And all of a sudden they start to buy the outer world validation, and it'll take your soul right off the cliff.
Right. No, absolutely. No, you know, I was, some people here know, you know, because we had a Genius Network meeting. That was a lovely time. When was that? So I was Harvey Weinstein's sober coach for a period of time. And then that video of me having dinner with him comes out. I have a frickin' Genius Network meeting the next day. Every media company on the planet's calling me wanting to do interviews about Harvey Weinstein. This is all volunteer work, so I don't get paid anything for it. And all of a sudden, you know, I'm thrust into this sort of situation. And, you know, Harvey was definitely afraid of women. He was not at all attractive and desirable by most people's standards or to his own. And the only way that he felt he could get any sort of connection was to be wealthy and powerful. And he became he's a narcissist. He was a bully. There were parts of him that appeared to have compassion for his kids and his family, but he really hurt a lot of people, you know, and he never admitted to me. In his mind, he felt he didn't do anything wrong. He had as many alibis and rationalizations. And just what I learned about Hollywood and what I learned about people in powerful places with some of those people that I've worked with, him being one of them, is that there's a lot of power does corrupt people if they do not check themselves, if they do not even it's hard to say because, you know, most people don't get seduced without wanting to be seduced, and some people are seducers, but there's, you know, we have similar stories like me and you growing up, you know. I had a lot of sexual abuse, I had a lot of manipulation. I think I have such a hatred of seeing it done to other people, which is why my comments and things will eke out, because I hate seeing what's being done. I don't like bullies. I don't like oppression. I don't like, you know, rape is doing something without consent, and there's a lot of people raping the world right now. It may not be sexual rape, but they are raping people, and I mean, I hate it, and trying to find you know, meaning in it all.
The way I make sense of the world is that fear creates selfishness. And we witnessed that in COVID. And so the more scared you are, the more you look out for yourself. But there's such a baseline of fear in most people that they're not even aware of, that they don't even know they're selfish. And it's the other thing that I let a lot of people off the hook with, just because I did so much Peter Levine training, you know, somatic experience training, and then I did a follow-up 3-year developmental training on trauma. Pre-verbal trauma, something I mentioned earlier, means that you experience trauma, and so we're born a ball of meat, literally, for something to come along and eat. That Seriously, we are completely defenseless, completely helpless. You come out of the chute and you get plopped on mom's chest, and they co-regulate each other's central nervous system. It's a miracle to watch, meaning that what's happening in her body is reflected mirror neuron-wise into the baby's body, and the baby's body is reflecting back. And so this attachment is its primary attachment, it's called, is the sense of safety and security in the world. That gets disrupted. Not easily, but can get disrupted. And that's before this monkey mind, before this thing up here is even online at all. But we don't even speak until what, 2.5, 2 really? It starts, and then 3 and 4, and we don't have this observing ego until we're about 5 or 6. We're literally in the Garden of Eden until we eat from the tree of knowledge and good and evil, and then we get kicked out. And so that pre-verbal trauma, does evil exist in the world? I mean, Weinstein, I don't know him personally at all, but that primary need to bond is so strong, and he didn't have the mental, even knowing it's not there. It's like, wow, how the hell do you want to do that? And so it's as a species, these are the conversations that need to happen, not how do we punish them or how do we keep my daughter safe. There's a lot going on here that we can do a lot about. But
yeah, it's interesting is almost everyone goes into the punishment because my whole thing is you can't punish pain out of people. And we have a punitive approach to every sort of mental condition, addiction, things like that, and hardly anyone asks is what happened to that person? How did they become that way? Where did it go wrong? And that's when I put myself into the situations of working with people that have done awful things. And most addicts, when you're an addict, when you're active, you lie, you cheat, you steal. I mean, you live a double life. It's just part of the addiction in most cases, almost all. And the thing is, the issues are in the tissues. So when I sit and listen to you talk about this, Peter Levine, Bessel van de Kolk, all the somatic work. Which I want to ask you, like, now that we've identified some of this, what do we do? So we'll get to that in a moment. The thing with finding, in 12 steps, it's like the membership is open to anyone that has a willingness to seek help. Like if someone, having to put my own judgments, which are definitely there. I cannot say I've evolved enough to not be without judgment. I think we judge all the time. I couldn't drive a car, red light, green light, without judging. So there is always judgment. It's the harsh judgment. It's being able to see someone that has done, I've literally sat in a room doing therapy with a person that raped me when I was a kid.
Oof.
And having to sit and try to have those conversations and be like, what happened to this person? How did they, as a kid, I can never understand that. For many years, as an adult now, I could see most people that become abusers were
abused.
Badly abused. And to be able to find love and compassion. I mean, I've been in ayahuasca journeys thinking about trying to find love for Fauci, believe it or not. And trying to be like, what the fuck happened to that guy? That doesn't excuse it, doesn't make it okay. None of this is to give anyone a pass for hurting. It's just trying to make sense of where do these things.
I'm addicted to them now.
Oh, this is one of our Genius Select members too. They're great. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, right there. Right there. Yeah.
Good.
That awesome water is his water.
Yeah.
It is good.
So, and everyone should be drinking that, especially for product placement. So, but the.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. No. So the thing is, I think there's when you can find some level of love and acceptance in people that have hurt you. I think I'm not saying this is right. I think that's part of the key to finding love and acceptance in yourself, because oftentimes the biggest abusers, some of the biggest abusers that I've had in my life have been certain parts of myself.
Yeah.
Where I beat myself up more and shame myself more than other people have.
And the understanding of monkey, elephant, soul, or mind, body, spirit, whatever language you want to do. Who hurt you? It was their elephant, and that's Peter Levine talks a lot about. Trauma's like tuberculosis. It just wants to spread. And it's evil spirits, whatever you want to call these things, but these things that live in our body. And there's this other theory called the imago, to where you repeat the traumas. You go back and you date the same person again and again. You keep doing these things, hoping this next time it's done differently. And that, child abuse, I have worked with some pedophiles, and it is really hard work because their elephant and their monkeys are colluding with each other. And that's how it almost killed me. When my elephant had an impulse and my monkey mind said, all right, let's rationalize, justify, and go along with it. I didn't have enough observer or soul strength. That's really what my next book is about, is this capacity to actually stand back and observe and feel these things in both yourself and others. And so it's that soul strength. Goggins, you can't hurt me. The guy's like killing himself. What do you mean you can't? You can't hurt me, because he's hurting himself more than anyone else. But it's the identification with me up here. This is the real me. And from there, then you can start to see yourself and others and see how their trauma is just playing itself out. And how you can step aside of their trauma. And boundaries. Everybody here, big boundaries. Boundaries are internal, which means that, when my little girl, she's 16 now, and I haven't heard it lately, when she was like 4, 5, 6, she would do a pterodactyl scream that literally would make my spine, reflexively, I wanted to put my hand over her mouth. Like, don't do that. And it's just this physiological, but I was able to not put my hand over her mouth. I was able to not hurt her. So I didn't have to walk away, because I could hold the internal boundary. Watching the elephant, watching my central nervous system go through its motion and not need to stop or change the externals to keep someone else safe or myself safe. So big meditation practitioners, been doing this for a long time, and a Zen master, right, can walk into any circumstance and feel and experience fully the present and not cause harm. Mm-hmm. Wow, not me. Because there are, crossing guards. There's one particular crossing guard up the street from me that I want to throw a water bottle at often.
Oh, funny.
She 3 cars at a time, and it stops and lets 3 cars go at a time, and stops and lets 3 cars go at a time. If you let all 9 go and then waited and let all 9 and waited for the next, we wouldn't have to sit here and do like this for 10 minutes. Yeah. Me, the monkeys or the elephant? The elephant wants to stomp her head. The monkeys want to say choice words, but the soul is just compassion for her. It's like, and compassion is the greatest boundary, strongest boundary. What does that mean? Passion means pain. That's what it means. I have passion. I did triathlon for 10 years. I have passion for exercise. I endured pain for that because I have a love for it. Pain and love all. Compassion, Latin, community, company, it means to join with.
So that whole thing, do what you're passionate about, which I think that whole thing's bullshit. Like, do what you're passionate about from the context of, Cal Newport, I did an interview with Cal, and he wrote, So Good They Can't Ignore You, and he has this whole thing about don't follow your passion is what can the world bring to you versus skills, or what value can you bring to the world. And I love Mike Rowe's spin on it, where he's like, don't look for passion, bring the passion with you. Yeah. Because you can be doing, I've met, in my days with helping service businesses and carpet cleaners, I've met some of the happiest, frickin' people that do some of what most people would consider the grungiest, most difficult work, and they're just really connected, happy people. And there's other people that have high status and are doing what they hate their lives. You know, it's very interesting, the whole passion thing.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, well, let's do this. I want to give opportunity for people here to ask some questions to you about anything that's come up, and I would like to have you share some you know, some methodologies. You teach people how to meditate with open eye meditation while shooting rifles, which seems like a very interesting way to get into a Zen state. So you have discovered ways for hunters and for the driven to be pretty damn awesome and connected and expanded.
Most meditations are developed by, interesting, I come from a sect of Zen called Rinzai-ji, which is the warrior samurai. Interestingly, 90% of Japan is Soto Zen. Do you know where that comes out of? Rice farmers. And so you see this natural kind of division of two different ways, two different styles of people. And so their style is much slower, and it's going to come, and just let it come. You have to be patient for the rice to grow. Rinzai is fuck it now. And so it suits me better. And so if you're driven, this style of meditation that I teach is really tailored to a very driven people. The eyes open. Why the eyes open? Because of the way our brain structure is, if you close your eyes, oftentimes it allows the frontal lobe, that we don't have this ball of energy, we have it all over the place, our thinking goes nuts. Normal people, 3 to 5 things happening in their head, we are 7 to 13. And so we think more, we see different objects interacting, we can see 19 variables. How the hell did you see that? Because you have a different brain. And so that's part of this. The meditation at gunpoint, you know, I teach meditation at gunpoint. It was I co-developed it with a Bujinkan instructor that I had, Randy, God bless him, I still talk to him all the time. It's based on Kudo, which is the martial art of archery. And so what it does, though, very simply, it integrates all the elements. We got earth, fire, wind, all of them are there. But this ability to actually experience the elephant anticipating recoil. It's called a flinch. And so you feel, and the tip of your finger, though, you can feel as you slow down and slow down. That's the joke. There is no recoil in the present. And so the more hyper-focused you are, another thing about neuropeptide Y is it throws the ADD brain into this hyper-focused state. And a very interesting thing happens where the split between the monkey, the elephant, and the soul. Any Christians in here, 3 becomes 1, and it's called flow. It's a flow state. And, you know, we don't have to be skydiving or jumping out of an airplane to actually fall into that state. You can actually, with practice, drop right in any time. It's what I use with all my pro golfers and teaching them how to putt. I mean, it's called a hitch. And to work through that, there is no hitch in the present. You're anticipating something else. And that one anticipating is this. The one feeling the brace is this. But the more present you are, those two, and then the soul will drop right into the body. For many people, it's the first time in their lives that they actually experience, you know, if you know the ox herding pictures, in Zen?
Which one?
Ox herding.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I'm shoving the footprints of the ox up their ass. Oh. So you experience presence for the first time, and it's like, God, if I could stay there all the time, the amount of stuff I could get done is amazing. And it is like, yeah, and you can, but not all the time. It's a place where you drop into and you get into these hyper productive states, and then you're able to orient and fall back out. So it's a very interesting teaching tool.
Sitting listening to you, I mean, like I've said this before in here, like this is like the Star Wars bar in Star Wars,
Oh, yeah.
right? And you have like, these are all hunters, right? All kind of on guard, watching each other, who's going to make a move, sort of thing, and just all the different ways that people see and perceive and do life. This is sort of more of a, I'm just curious to see what you say to this, then it's partially serious and partially kind of funny. Do you consider yourself a happy guy?
Happiness is based upon happenings. When things that happen that I like, I'm happy.
Mm-hmm. No, I like I've not spent a lot of my life happy. I've had a lot of moments where I've had happiness. I've had moments where I've had a lot of excitement, and I have had a lot of fear, and I've had a lot of angst, and I've had some joy, but it is like a constant mixed bag. And so I've always loved, more woo and less ah. Like everything that I think we do is for more woo and less ah. And a lot of the things that I did to try to get woo, like with addictive behavior and addiction and cocaine and sex and all of the consumption, in the moment gave me a lot of woo, but the that it left me was so agonizing. And I got to the point that it's like, the that I'm going to get ain't worth the woo that's going to come with it. And I don't know how many people here have ever had a cocaine addiction or binged on cocaine, but it's a huge dopamine hit, right? And then it depletes you and you get into a craving, white knuckling, call it jonesing state, and it is just miserable. And where's my buddy Pat from, he's known me since high school, yeah. So he saw me in my worst states when I weighed 105 pounds when I was 18 years old from freebasing cocaine for 3 months straight. And
the same story.
Yeah, and it's like, but I'd be up all night, nose bleeding, coughing up blood, broke, no money, not eating, not sleeping, and the only thing that my brain wanted was more cocaine.
It is a gift to understand at 18 that you're really not in charge of your life.
Yeah.
You're really not. Who is? Mostly your trauma, your history, your past. This, why do you always park on the left? Well, I don't know. It seems right. That's your elephant steering your world. And, I've spent the last 30 years accepting that, knowing that you can't really stop it, but do I want to? And so that ability to actually let, it becomes very Zen and very Yoda shit, but this is your life. And, feelings are not facts. You hear it all the time, all the 12-step stuff, but it's what is life about? That's the other thing. Frank Kurtansky said it, Zen teacher, one of my early teachers at hospice, and he said the eyes of the dying contain the truth. Not one of the many truths, and he did a wicked presentation, just amazing. He'd have faces, big screen faces behind him. And he goes through his whole pitch, and he's got, these faces, black and whites, colors, old people, young, medium people, mostly old, looking at the eyes of the, and this, everyone, for the last hour you've been watching, this is their last day of life. Like, wow. And he says, the only truth he's ever come to conclude is that life itself is beautiful. All of it. And so, yeah, that, the gift of understanding that we're really not in charge is just the beginning of that, what is, birth of my kids, that was cool. But would I feel that same way if they died? But life is more than a feeling. Life is all of it. And so, as they say in Zen, weeds and flowers are the same thing, but we still like flowers.
Well, and I mean, in this stage of my life, there's a lot of things that when I was younger that I took for granted, like the ability to see clearly. I can't read out of my left eye, but I don't really want to wear glasses. And there's a lot of things I just can't do anymore. There's just a sense of peace, though, and a sense of care, and a sense of love, and a sense of gratitude that I never had in the past. And I've done, I've gone the longest stretch of my adult life without, bottom line, addictive behaviors. It'll be 7 years in September of this year, and the peace that comes with that. So, even though, and the thing is, I think Carl Jung has so much wisdom and so much insight. I mean, dancing with the shadow is really important. There's a lot of people that just live in a non-reality, and it's funny too, like there's so many people that are friends of mine that are biohackers, and they're involved in health, and they're also, there's this whole, there's a bunch of addicts that are addicts, but they don't realize that doing plant medicines every weekend is not
that's called doing drugs, by the way.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. No. And there's a lot of people that
good times, but that's doing drugs.
Yeah. Same with supplements. There's a lot of my friends that are addicted to supplements and nootropics, but they think this shit's healthy for them, right? And so there's all kinds of ways to hide inebriating yourself through work, through substances, through behaviors, and things like that. And I just, any piece that we can bring that's, here's the thing. Robert Heinlein said, you can, the science fiction writer, you can have freedom or you can have peace. Don't ever count at having both at the same time. And I don't know if that's true, but it's something that I think about and I ponder, right? And so we have a room full of drivens. I wanted people to hear and learn about themselves, and you wrote the whole book on it, and you're going to be in this group, which is great. And so I wanted this to be, at some point I'd love to organize for those here that would like to do it,
come shoot with me.
Yeah, where we go do a meditate, and maybe we take some storyteller vans out there, and we go out to Cleator, we go out to the ranch, and we set up. It's too hot right now in the middle of summer, but when the weather's nice, although we could do a grueling one too, and just make it a real miserable pain in the ass for people. You learn a lot doing that too. So, who has any questions for Doug? You've heard Kira.
Yeah, Joe, you did it.
Can someone throw her a mic, please?
I got a mic. Right here.
All right.
All right, so I was like debating, do I ask this question you and me, or like right here, whatever, we'll just do it right here. So a huge thing that I'm really a stand for is listening to my body. Like that's like a real clear thing. Like,
have you heard that book? If you don't listen to your body, you will.
But I'm confused though by what you're saying, and I want to like understand this better. So like for me, it's like every answer, like if I'm in a sales call, I listen to my body. Like, is my body, like, am I a yes to work with this person? I like feel it in my body. But then when I'm hearing you talk about the body making impulsive decisions, I don't know, like all of a sudden I'm like, I don't understand it. I don't know, can you explain it a little bit better?
So what does a yes feel like?
No, like when you're saying that the body's the elephant, are you, so
Right,
explain it a little bit more.
So somebody walks in and should I hire this person?
Yeah.
Every cell in your body's screaming yes, because she reminds me of Mrs. Spencer, the second grade teacher, and I'm going to get to finally slam this bitch.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah.
And so, right?
Yeah, this is interesting.
So as Peter says, it's you feel the body, but you confirm it with the eyes. And you think. And so is it because they have something to teach me that I can learn by hiring them or not hiring them? And so it's that curiosity in between, this and check in with your body. You're actually checking in with your intuition, which that's an offline talk. Yeah, that's a whole other. Intuition is why Carl Jung was hated by Freud, hated, He says if you start talking to, Carl Jung came up with the word intuition. So most people use their eyeballs, their ears, their senses to go through the world. There's another sense that he proposed as intuition, that we actually can feel things that other energies that other people can't. And that's really what you're talking about. But if you get behind a gun, you will feel the path of the bullet as the bullet is released. You will know that you're hitting the target before the target is hit. And I talk a lot about on those retreats, you know it in your knower. And there's this nerve called the vagal nerve, ventral vagal nerve, winds itself out of the brainstem through inner ear, through jaw, through larynx, through top of the heart, through the back. Then there's a dorsal vagal. This is fight or flight. This is social connectivity and feeling energies. Genetically, it's related to the lateral line on fish. So it's the same nerve that's related to how birds know north from south and all of that. Some people are very attuned to it. You are one of them. And so that ability to feel this other energetic world going on between you, but then there's a spot right between the dorsal and the ventral, right here at the base of the heart. That's where your knower is. Like, I know it, my knower. So it's a physical location in your body. With practice and with a lot of work, I mean, a lot of practice, you can get pretty good with it, to the point of reading people's minds and tripping people out. It's weird shit. Yoda crap. These are not the droids you're looking for crap.
I like that whole Yoda crap. That's great. Grab a mic, please. Someone just throw one to him, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I hear you talking about these things, and you have 2 PhDs, and you know all this stuff, and then as we read your book, we'll know stuff. How do you get, with this type of information and these issues, how do you get from knowing it to actually being able to manipulate it sort of within your own life? This idea of knowing, doing, and then kind of becoming, and
the guy gets in the
this.
cab and asks, how do you get to Carnegie Hall?
What's
Practice, practice, practice.
Yeah.
It's practice. And how do you become more body aware? And I write about it in the book. It's called, so we have perception outside, and then we have interioception, about what's going on inside my body and locating these energies as they're moving. There's entire meridians and chi and all this. I mean, you can go down into la la land with it. But you want to have body awareness, because that's where sensations turn into emotion. And so where you start, as an old white guy, you literally just become aware of, like, whoa, I felt that ping in my body. I walked into the room and I felt something in my body prior to the thought. And that will start to open the doorway, and then it's practice, 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 practice.
Can I ask you, like, what would be some high leverage action steps, if you could, that are not difficult that don't require a tremendous, like, if you could share a couple of things here that people could do, or at least start with.
Here's a great one. Cold showers. Here's one for you. Cold shower. You got the shower all nice and warm. Go to reach for the hot and feel like your body will resist. Then you can hear the monkey mind very clearly. Oh, come on, do it. No, don't. Maybe. But that discernment between them, who's the one watching the whole shit show? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the one that actually is this, whoa. And then I can start to discern between, the thinking and the sensation. And then it's like with curiosity, you can go turn it a little bit colder and feel that, and like, whoa. And then you'll hear judgment, thinking, and then you'll feel body adjust, and then it's like, oh, I'm going to turn it all the way, and then, and so it's a practice of actually that once you can get that mind, body, soul, or that, then all change happens from the soul level, or the observer level. And that's a great question for you that you can ask yourself all the time. Is what's happening in my body right now actually connected to what's happening around me. So you take a breath in, you look around, and am I feeling what I should be feeling? And it's a ridiculous question. Compared to worms? Compared to what? Well, I think I should feel better. Why? Well, 99 people in a room, if they walked in here and got $1 million, they would feel good. No, you don't know that. You're full of shit. So rather than how should I feel, how do I feel? But once you have that mind, body, that's all soul level curiosity. And that curiosity of actually, how does it feel? Okay. It's my thing with drivens is, we are broken trying to get fixed. Where it's not. We are getting to a place of being okay. Like, holy crap, my whole life is okay. Financially, family, fitness, friends, faith, like, I'm okay. What is better then? More is not better. What is better? More time with your kids, less time. So it's in that, then you can really start to take charge of your life and do something different. Otherwise, you're just chasing, the elephant is running the show, trying for more, or trying to feel better. You're really not in control of yourself. So it's that, I'm okay right now, and everything in my life is okay.
Let me also say, so we'll go for a few more minutes, then we'll break for the day. I'm going to do an interview with Jeffrey Hunter, who's the CEO of Storyteller Overland, and they make these really amazing vehicles, and there's one outside, and the people that are here locally will go see it. And part of the Hunter thing for me is I want to have a mobile office. I want to have a mobile podcasting studio. I want to be able to take off and just do stuff. And I tested it out. Me and Cherie went up to Cleator and had our Sprinter van for a couple of days, and it's just really, so I think a lot of the things that we can do as hunters is we can, and especially hunters here that have money and just people that are not, is we can have the ability and options to change our environment. And that's beautiful to be able to have the ability. There's a saying on the wall from Dan Sullivan, which is, if you have enough money to solve the problem, you don't have a problem. And the best problems to solve are the ones you can cut a check and make them disappear. And so, part of it is a lot of people use their power and their resources to make their lives more miserable for themselves and for others. And a lot of people use their power and their influence to make their lives better for themselves and for others. It's the whole thing. People that say money can't buy happiness haven't given enough of it away, because you can do a lot with money, and you can do a lot for yourself. And so money can buy happiness. I don't think it's bullshit to say money can't buy happiness, because I buy happiness all the time. But it can also buy misery. And when I was an addict with money, it was actually a bad thing for me, because it kept me in trouble. So there's, it's a mixed bag to say anything is either good or bad. It's all how you interact with it. And so I want this conversation to really hopefully open up your awareness more than anything else of looking at your behavior, not only to yourself, but to others. Because one of the things, is it's hard to people with farmers, right? When you're a hunter, it's hard to interact with non-hunters because you often feel very misunderstood.
Say that it's their world, though. It's not our world. They made it their way. It's their laws, their rules, it's their world. And if you want to change it, you got to figure out how to lead them. And so you can't just kill them all, even though some days. I said it earlier, mastery. Everybody familiar with the concept of mastery? And so it is, we are made for mastery. But what is better is I want everything better. Learning how to slow down and really question, what is the ruler I'm using for better? And that alone will actually bring it into heart pretty damn quick, because it's and then listen to the elephant.
This is great. So she has to deal with a hunter all the time, me.
Oh yeah.
I do have a question regarding the driving force So when something happens too easily, if you achieve something too easily, is the driving force curiosity, or is it the lack of pain and suffering that you didn't suffer enough to achieve something? And what drives someone to reach out to the next thing, something harder, something more difficult?
So, let me understand the question. We get used to, so this is my doctoral research, and if something comes too easy to a driven person, we have no value for it. I mean, it's like, I mean, it's literally just washed over. If something's challenging or hard for us, I'd see everybody's eyes go, oh yeah, because that is this deeper drive for true reward. The farmer's guy named Blum coined this whole thing, and he called us reward deficient. We have reward deficiency syndrome. So no matter what we do, it never feels like it was good enough. The harder it is, and the more we struggle, and the more we fight, and the more we maybe we'll get rewarded this time. But as it gets, maybe.
So you're always looking for something more difficult, more painful in order to achieve?
To try to prove that this inner feeling of Doug is actually not real.
Okay.
And all those eyeballs looked at me, and if I'm not smart enough and I can't spell, I'm gonna get kicked out of the herd.
Got it.
And so it is that propensity to actually turn that passion into movement. And and I get this question all the time. So I'm gonna, drivens, are you gonna turn me into a farmer? It's like, oh my God. What will happen if I actually get rid of all this fear in my life? I won't get anything done. What's the truth of that?
Fear's not going away.
If it's not driving you, what's gonna drive you? You get about 5 times as much done. Your efficiency, as a group, drivens hate wasting time. We waste more fucking time than any other group on the planet. And so and it's hard to, as I always joke about bubble gum. I say that in my book. Until you really taste your true potential, you don't know it. You can read about it, you write about it, you can talk about it, but until you taste bubblegum, you don't know what bubblegum tastes like. And so you start these practices, and then you touch something deeper, like true heart. Like when you're in a group and it's a true heartfelt movement, something magic happens, something bigger than us happens. And you feel that every once in a while here, and it's like, whoa. Yeah, that's what starts to motivate the people, my long-term clients. And I've taken multiple guys from mid-8s to 9s to 10s. I mean, it's literally took a guy from 300 to 1.7, 1.8. Why? He let love run his stuff. And it's, love is not, oh, everyone's happy here. Love is, I'm sorry you can't have a popsicle an hour before dinner. He changed his entire attitude towards his employees, but he's coming at it in love. It's like, I love you enough that I think you ought to not work here anymore. Like, I really do, because I don't think it's best for you to work here anymore. And people around were like, holy shit, this guy really does care. He's truthful with us now. He loves us enough to tell us the truth. And so it's not, oh, everybody's love and kindness. No, it's small t, big L, tough love. So it's hard to know until you really get there, but once you start it.
Here's what I am I've picked a lot of interesting themes this year. I think I hope we're not, but I think the world is going into an even darker place than it has been in for the last 3 years. I think the aftershocks is going to be far worse than the quake. There's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of repressed, there's a lot of angry people, there's a lot of abuse. And there's been a lot of generational trauma that's been created in the last 3 years. from the majority of, purely my opinion, so treat it like a 12-step group, take what you like and leave the rest. There's just a small handful of people that are just creating a lot of shit. And
calling themselves shepherds.
yeah. And one of the things that I think was the sabbatical for me was very difficult, because I'm a hunter, I'm driven, right? So it wasn't like sit on a hammock and relax. It was the middle of a pandemic. I was single until the very end of it, and it was lonely and it was weird because I'm a very social, relational person, and I cut off about 95% of all the communication I was doing in order to take the sabbatical. And one of the biggest things I wanted to do was to really look at the parts of me that wanted, desired, required outside validation for me to feel okay about myself. And let go, which is one of the hardest things to do, is to let go and let my team run my company. Could they run the company? Could the company even function? What would happen? And there's several people in the room that ran Genius Network meetings while I was on sabbatical. Definitely Michael Fishman did, Jason Campbell did. Who else? Was there anyone else here that ran a Genius Network meeting? Joel Weldon. You know, and it worked really well. And probably some of it worked a hell of a lot better than me running it, right? And so
we didn't miss you at all.
No, I know, it's good. And, no, but the cool thing about it is like, wow, actually this thing goes beyond me. It doesn't require me to actually work and to function and stuff. And then of course I can come back in and mess it all up again. The thing though is that I think one of the biggest things and one of the hardest times is just seeing, I was talking to people that really had their shit together, you would think, until the pandemic started.
Yeah.
Then addictions, then depression, then people losing it. And I was having those conversations during my sabbatical. And I think I came back from this where, like, we are in the middle of a war. We've been in the middle of a war that has started. It's always been there. It's been bubbling at the surface. It's been in different people's lives, different parts of the world. But now in America, it's here, you know, in a different way than it ever has been in my lifetime. But I think the choice that a lot of us have, to whatever degree we have choice, is we can have an external war out there, but we don't have to have an internal war in here. And so Srikumar Rao, who's sitting there in the corner, he's going to give a talk tomorrow. He's really good at describing the internal prison that we can live. So there could be so I want people here in Genius Network to be prepared. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope things get better. I hope you make a lot of money. I hope the world becomes more peaceful and, you know, the tyrants and the communists don't win. However, we don't know if that's going to happen. And the best thing that I think I can do as a group is try to create an environment where people are, they can esteem themselves from inside. So whatever's happening on the outside, they're more anti-fragile, they're more resilient, they're more compassionate, they're more connected, they're more empathetic, and they're more givers, because the world needs givers. There's way too many fucking takers right now. And so that's why, you know, I want to have these sort of discussions that I think are way more important than just, you know, marketing concepts and things, which we will have those too, because you want to sell stuff and make money and all that. But that's why I think all of this is important, because life is difficult and hard, and we need community, and we need people that care about us, and it's more than ever, man, take care of the people that love you and that are loving you back, in as much love and caring that you can muster to give to others and give to yourself. That's where I think the real strength and the real growth is going to come from.
Yeah,
So.
if drivens, I think we are really important in this world, guys. I mean, it's, you know, you see what they do to the Joe Rogans or anybody who's actually just, I'm not saying anybody's good or bad, I'm just looking for truth and answers. Oh my God, he's evil. Oh my God, he's great. In that splitting that happens, you know, and be ready for it. Because if you're just looking for the truth, both sides will attack. And so it's that ability for us as a group to really hone in together and have a safe place where we can talk about the bullshitters, bullshitting the sheep and not bullshit each other. So it's
Yeah, it's better to live on your feet than die on your knees, or however it goes.
yeah.
Yeah. Doug. And then I think one other person here, and then we'll do Doug and then you, and then we'll call it a day.
Really appreciate you, Doug. Actually, my name is Douglas, or Doug as well. So I think for entrepreneurs, when you're building community, working on your businesses, it's kind of hard to see the impact, and we need to see that feedback loop, right? So for me, one of the things that always kept me going, and this happens every year, something like this happens. The most recent time it happened, it was actually kind of thanks to Joe, because you connected me to Phil Rendonzo. A lot of his community came to my military veteran event that I had in March. So thank you for that, Joe. So I did this event because veterans specifically, for 10, 20, 30 years, they wear a uniform, they have purpose, they have community, they have fulfillment, a team they look up to, a team that looks up to them. And the day they hang up the uniform and get out the military, that literally goes away overnight.
Yeah.
And what I found from working with so many veterans over the last 8 or 9 years, because I'm a veteran myself, I was in the Navy for 10 years, they turn to drugs, alcohol, marital issues, financial issues, and unfortunately suicide. So, did this event, 300 people are there. Towards the end of the event, this guy comes up to me, handwritten letter. And the letter basically stated, 2 weeks ago, I was planning my suicide. This is how I was going to do it. Then I saw you on Instagram, saw what you were doing. I learned about this event through my connection with Phil. He said, you've given me newfound purpose. I have a daughter that I want to reconnect with. I have 2 grandchildren, and I was never there for them growing up. And I'm going to commit the rest of my life to getting my shit together and living for them every single day. And he said, thank you so much for doing this event. So that's the feedback loop that I get. About every year or so, somebody comes to me and tells me that I'm saving them from suicide, because what I do in my business, if you don't know, is I literally help people find that connection, that purpose that they once had, whether it was in the military or in their corporate or whatever. And I think for you, everyone here, get that feedback loop. What does that mean to you? How can you measure the impact that you're truly having in your businesses and the problems that you solve? Maybe it's just a handshake or a pat on the back. It's not just the paycheck. The money is the byproduct. It's something else deeper. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. Sinclair.
Well, thank you so much for this conversation. I absolutely had to be here for this. So, back. Okay.
You know why primates cry? Something important is happening in here that hopefully gets others to bond closer. As a society, we have taught you that tears make people go away. If you see someone crying in here, come closer. That's going to make you cry like crazy. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm driven. And I love my work. And I'm so grateful to be alive and have made it through, because I almost didn't make it many, many times for lots of fun reasons. And I'm aware that I overwork and that I have this trauma response to drive myself into the ground. In fact, the last fight I had with my partner was he woke me up in the middle of the night to tell me how worried he is about how I'm working myself to death again. It's like, can you see the irony of this right now? But I am a warrior, and I am very clear on my cause, and I have got to move this power through me and apply it in a positive way, or I will go insane.
Yeah.
And sorting the two out, you know,
discernment is the key.
It's really hard for me.
So any real people, and I've worked with, I had a 75-year-old. He He's actually on my podcast. Interesting human being. He created the 6800 chip. He's on the patent for the 6800 chip, and he handed it to Steve Jobs. I mean, this guy, wild career. At 75, he tried to stop and became acutely suicidal very quickly. When drivens lose the external container and this drive thing, and I've looked into that a lot. So here's, real quick, we got 2 minutes, 1 minute. We have a little rabbit, wired the same as us, and when they see the shadow of the hawk, all this energy comes into the body, they run, and they run down the rabbit hole. Everything's good. One afternoon, they don't see the hawk coming because they're watching the sunset, and this hawk comes down, and they right hear it at the last second, and go, oh shit! Just rips their top up. But they don't feel the pain because they're numb. But all that energy comes into the body and they start to run. When do they feel the pain? When they stop. And so it's this natural, when I stop, it hurts. When I stop, it doesn't feel good. And so and I've watched that with a lot of drivens, particularly if it's transgenerational stuff, and it's passed on and on and on. No different than anyone else. You negotiate it, and it is this, as you said, discernment between the fear of stopping and actually what does it feel like when you stop it. It's pain. What is pain? It's love. It rolls right off the tongue, but when you're in it, yeah, it's those waves of pain, and you just got to let the body roll through them. Slowly slow down the treadmill. If you stop the treadmill, your body goes. So you go from a 7 to a 6.8. You get used to that. You go to a 6.6. You get used to that. You go to a 6.5. It's the hardest thing I've ever taught myself, or all my drivens, is being gentle with yourself. Not in my nature, but being able to be gentle with actually being less of an asshole to me. That's gentle. And less, a little bit less, a little bit less, and then notice the difference a little bit less. It may take you a year or two. Yeah. Maybe take you 5. May take you the rest of your life. But you're working on it. And feeling the progress and feeling that slow, like I can breathe a little easier. Yeah, but I'm still. And then noticing the good. Like, what is good? What is better? Yeah. And then time takes time. It just does. Yeah, but we want it now.
You're like my buddy Kamal Ravikant. You know, his book is Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. You know, earlier today when we were talking about Toastmasters, and you said 114 chapters, or however many are there here?
Almost 200.
Almost 200 in Arizona. Phoenix is the 6th largest city in the United States in terms of population. I believe it's 6th largest. And there's 200 chapters of Toastmasters, which is awesome. And I highly recommend Toastmasters. It's available all over the world. There's one Workaholics Anonymous meeting once a week in Scottsdale. Workaholism is a respectable addiction. You get admired for progress and for growth and everything. That's a subtitle of a book on workaholism. And it's interesting because it's so easy to hide the compulsivity under profit and progress. And drivens are wired to drive. They're hunters. They're out there doing stuff. And it's great. Just don't kill yourself. You know, don't hunt yourself. And the best thing, it all starts with awareness. You know, having the awareness and noticing it, because most people are oblivious. They just don't even see what the hell's going on, and they numb themselves. And pain is such a great messenger. Yeah. Pain is constantly, and the fact that what you said and what he just said about bubbling up, I mean, you know a lot of, you just know it. Now the question is, what does one do, and how do, so really try to do in the next week, every phone call, every message, everything, just ask yourself as much as you can, remind it, write it on your hand in marker if you need to, is this person, is this project, is this thing, is it expanding me, is it contracting me? And be gentle on yourself. Just do a little bit of expansion. If it's contracting you, maybe step away from it. Maybe pause before you think about it. And it took me 100,000 little fucking failures until I quit tripping as much. And it, you know.
And focusing on the slight, all my doctoral work around lottery winners. What happens to lottery winners?
2 years later, they're
3 to
deeper
5
in debt.
years,
Yeah.
they are broke, bankrupt, and their family hates them because they set their family up to be spending addicts too, and all of a sudden they're all. And so why? Because we can't adjust to even good things. And so you make a small change and you keep it, meaning that you're going to take a 10-minute break once a day and keep it. Yeah, there, and then keep it. And then go to 11 minutes next week. And then keep it. And then go to 4 minutes, and then you skip a day, go back to 2 minutes. That's how I teach meditation. The point of a practice is to keep it, not to do it. It is to keep it. And when you forget, come back. That's the gentle part. And then feel the progress. How does that feel? That actually feels okay. And all of those tears coming up inside of you are good. That's beautiful. They are. Yeah, it's not. I mean, those are good feelings.
And you know what? Let's all buy freaking storyteller sprinter vans, go out in nature, fucking shoot guns, meditate, exercise, get in cold rivers, not just cold plunges. You know, feel your body, feel your life, you know.
So here's addiction for you.
Acid, rainwater, all that shit.
My gun collection, according to the IRS, is 100% business use. Imagine what this nutcase with guns and money. I have got guns that are literally this long and just shoot 2 miles.
Michael Fishman loves guns. We've had this conversation. Yeah.
Addictions, they're wonderful. If you're driven, choose your addictions wisely and put boundaries around them. I'm not kidding you. You're going to have them. Just set some boundaries and enjoy them.
That's a whole nother conversation because I often think I associate the word addiction with suffering. So
I suffer.
Yeah, I mean.
I suffer.
So how many of you found this to be an insightful conversation? Okay, good. All right, so there's a lot more done, but thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.